All right, we're good. All right, hi everybody. I'm meteorologist Candace Campos. We are talking all about the tropics. It is the 8th. It is election day. And I know a lot of people just want to think about Thanksgiving and Christmas gifts and going to the polls and voting today. I know our brains tend to kind of shift kind of non-hurricane brain by November, but unfortunately it's time to switch that back because we are going to be dealing with some pretty nasty weather in the upcoming days, all thanks to now Tropical Storm Nicole. It was subtropical earlier this morning and has officially been upgraded now to a full tropical storm system. Basically, it was a cool, cold core system. It was very broad. It was very jagged, very open to the elements. But for the last couple of hours, it's been starting to tighten. The center is starting to warm. It's moving over very favorable conditions in the Atlantic near the Bahamas, and the combination of all of that is the reason why it has officially become now tropical. So let's talk about the timeline for folks who are trying to figure it out. Your election day is going to be fine. We are dealing with those fast-moving showers, those little racing, pockets of rain in the forecast because we do have a strong northeast breeze right now. It is a blustery day. Nothing damaging, nothing severe, but it is a windy day. We're seeing the clouds starting to move in. Now, mind you, Tropical Storm Nicole is kind of a broad system still. It's not tight and compact like a stronger hurricane would be, like a Hurricane Ian. It's a completely different storm, a completely different animal. We're really comparing apples to oranges when you want to compare Ian to Nicole. Ian was a tight, strong Category 4 hurricane. This is going to possibly be a hurricane, but not a strong Category 1 hurricane. All right, so let's talk about the timeline. After today, that's when the weather is going to start deteriorating. So we're talking Wednesday, midday. If you have any things that you need to get done around your home, any errands that need to get done, I would pretty much be done with that by about Wednesday afternoon, because come Wednesday evening and into the overnight Thursday is where we will see kind of the worst of the weather, really bulk of the rain and the storms start moving in by daybreak on Thursday morning. So again, we are looking at an East Coast landfall. Exactly where it will go, we're starting to get a better handle on it. Computer models are kind of tightening up a little bit. So of course, that's something we're going to be watching very closely. Here is the visible satellite. You can see it. There it is. It could soon turn into Hurricane Nicole, possibly by tomorrow. You're starting to see that center. A lot of that tropical development is starting to kind of feed in and around that center of circulation, giving it more of that tropical characteristics rather than, let's say, a broad low. So as this slowly starts to tighten, it's moving in again to more favorable conditions that will give it the match to really strengthen this further. So here is the latest update. We have the next complete advisory, which means we'll have a new forecast cone at 4 o'clock. It shifts a little bit because of the end of daylight saving, but you can see 60-mile-per-hour wind gusts as of the intermediate 1 p.m. advisory. Wind gusts have also clocked up a little bit at 65 miles per hour. I believe the pressure has stayed pretty steady for now, but because it is starting to really wrap around nicely, those winds are able to gain some strength, which is what we've seen with the last advisory. This is the forecast cone from the morning update at 10 a.m. It's still anticipated to become a hurricane, possibly over the northern Bahamas by tomorrow evening, afternoon and into the evening hours, as with winds up to about 75 miles per hour. So it could be either a strong tropical storm by the time it approaches, or as the National Hurricane Center is showing, could clock up to that Hurricane 1, Category 1 strength, anything above 74 mile per hour. So here's kind of a more zoomed in cone of what we're looking at here. You can see the forecast cone has shifted a little further to the north. Possibly if you want to look at the center of that forecast cone, we could be dealing with a landfall either over northern Indian County or southern Brevard County. That's really kind of where we're looking at. Now, mind you, with that forecast cone, anywhere in that shaded gray area, we could have that center of Nicole move in. So that does not mean just because you see the line going through Brevard County, folks in Flagler and Volusia County can just let their guard down, because this is going to be a very kind of wide system. It's not going to be tight and compact. So although it won't be as strong as Ian, it's going to be wider. So we're looking at a wind field a little broader than other storms in the past. So let's go into, let's see what my next graphic is, the computer models. They are starting to tighten. They are coming into better agreement, but they still range from, let's say, as far north as the Cape and as far south as Lake Okeechobee in the West Palm Beach area. So anywhere in that zone there is where the National Hurricane Center is kind of putting that forecast comb. So back to the whole timeline. This is we call this our egg model, because it kind of looks like an over easy egg here. But as we move into Wednesday at 6 a.m., folks along the coastline will start to see their conditions deteriorate. Now, the coast already is getting battered by the winds and the rough surf already from Tropical Storm Nicole. That has been an issue already for the past couple days. Since the weekend, we've had advisories already in place. But now the winds really start picking up further inland. You can see everywhere there highlighted in yellow, winds gusting upwards about 39 miles per hour. But again, the worst of the weather is going to be late Wednesday and into Thursday morning. You can see the blob of orange there showing winds of upwards about 60 miles per hour. So we're talking now strong tropical storm force winds. There's a little red dot there and across southern Brevard County. That is where they're expecting really the hurricane force winds to extend. So it's not going to be a big wind event. This probably won't be a big rain event either, but the problem is we're still less than 40 days away from when Hurricane Ian came into Central Florida. So our rivers are very swollen. Our lakes are still, topped to the brim. So any additional rain, we still have debris out there. Any additional wind could kind of slow down recovery process, slow down, or even kind of move backwards when it comes to the cleanup after Hurricane Ian. By 1 o'clock in the afternoon on Thursday, the bulk of the wind has now shifted to the north and to the west. So you can see areas like Marion County, northern Sumter County will be kind of the worst of the weather for you guys. So kind of going back on the impacts, let's kind of break it down now county by county. So if you're watching us from different areas, depending on where you are, Central Florida is a very, the kind of layout is so big that areas in Marion County are going to be dealing with very different conditions than, for instance, Brevard and Volusia County. And for that reason, there is a difference in the watches and warnings. So we do have tropical storm warnings for everywhere they're highlighted in blue. That is inland Volusia County, basically areas west of 95, all of Seminole, Orange, Osceola, and all of Lake County. That means tropical storm conditions are expected within the next 36 hours. Areas there in yellow, a little further to the west and north, you guys are under a tropical storm watch, meaning conditions expected within the next 48 hours. Overall, do expect conditions to worsen across Central Florida by Wednesday afternoon throughout the evening into Thursday. We do have hurricane warnings in effect. This includes all of Brevard County. We have coastal Volusia, and we have a hurricane watch for coastal Flagler County, basically meaning that you guys have the highest threat for those hurricane force winds. So let's break it down. Flagler, Volusia, Brevard County, you can see 50 to 60 mile per hour wind gusts. Latest model runs show about 4 to 6 inches of rain possible, so flooding still will be an issue. Sometimes it will be the combination of fresh water falling from the sky, as well as coastal flooding with those really high breaking waves, 9 to 11 foot breaking waves, especially at high tide. We could be dealing with beach erosion, coastal flooding, and about 3 to 5 foot storm surge in the forecast. And speaking of high tides, for folks in Flagler Beach, your high tides during kind of the peak of the worst of the weather are between about 1 to 3 o'clock in the afternoon on Wednesday, and then again overnight. That's really going to be the problem area as possibly Hurricane Nicole pushes all that water towards the coast throughout the overnight. It looks like probably our worst coastal times for the coastline. Coastal flooding will be between about 2 in the morning to about 3:30 in the morning. So that's really where you want to make sure you're on heightened alert for areas that deal with a lot of that coastal flooding, and another round of high tides at about 2 to 3 o'clock in the afternoon on Thursday. Further inland, Orange and Seminole County, the main concern where all eyes are going to be on will be on the St. Johns River. Any rain that falls south in Brevard or Indian River County or even further south, all that rainwater continues to run off into the St. Johns River. And the St. Johns River, it is a very lazy river, one of the laziest rivers in the world, travels north. So any rain that gets thrown into the southern part of the lake, of the river, I should say, will slowly travel northward. So not only will Orange and Seminole County, especially along the St. Johns River, deal with additional 3 to 4 inches of rain, you also will have to worry in the upcoming days, even into the weekend, of the runoff from areas further south. When it comes to your winds, we're looking at wind gusts upwards about 35 to about 50 miles per hour. All right, let's go further inland for areas in Osceola and Polk, I should say further south. 35 to 50 mile per hour winds. Rainfall total is about 3 to 4. And if you do notice there at the bottom, we do have a tornado risk depending on really the track and the landfall of potentially Hurricane Nicole. It will all depend on kind of what side of the storm we're going to be on, because that right side, that northeast quadrant, so if it's moving in from the southeast, it's going to be that northeast quadrant. So a big portion of our viewing area will be on that dirty right side of the storm, meaning squally weather could be a little stronger. We have that possibility of those quick spin up tornadoes that could kind of cause some damage pretty quickly, to the point that sometimes the radar can't even keep up with the rotation of some of those. So we are going to keep that tornado risk, although it will be low, still in the forecast. And then areas in Marion County, you saw with that egg graphic, even though you guys are the farthest west, it doesn't mean that you're not going to see blustery winds and potentially about 1 to 2 inches of rain in the forecast. Now, we watch a lot of models. You see those spaghetti models always, right? Well, this is just one of the many models that we have. This one's our in-house model, kind of runs a little close to the GFS on these runs. So you can see throughout the next couple of hours, those fast-moving showers racing through parts of central Florida. The clouds will start to build. We will see a lot more clouds. It will be kind of a gloomy, blustery start to your day on Wednesday. We're looking mostly dry until about the lunchtime hour. That's when we will start to see those rain bands start kind of filtering in, kind of those feeder bands, where some areas will get drenched with rain, but other areas that are in between the squall lines won't see any rain at all. So it's going to be very tropical in that nature, with more rain pushing further inland about 1, 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Here comes possibly Hurricane Nicole at this point. By about 9 o'clock on Wednesday, could gain that hurricane strength, hurricane term there. 9 o'clock in the evening on Wednesday, that's when we will start to see more of the heavier banding, those gustier winds, with Nicole continuing to approach the area. So as of now, with this latest model, it's actually trending a little further north than the line of the official forecast cone. So again, these are always going to fluctuate, but I just kind of wanted to give you an idea of one of the possibilities. This one's showing landfall possibly near northern Brevard, Volusia County by 8 a.m. on Thursday. So we're talking by daybreak, the worst of the weather there starting to batter parts of the coastline. And Volusia, Flagler, they dealt with some really nasty beach erosion from Hurricane Ian when it crossed the state. And unfortunately, it looks like it will be affecting kind of the same area that Hurricane Ian is. That's really where my biggest concern is right now, as although this is not going to be a big wind and rain event, it's still going to cause some big time issues for our coastline that's already still in pieces up and down the coast. Future radar by about lunchtime on Thursday showing the bulk, the center to our north of our viewing area. Still some of that wraparound moisture, with most of it being done with by Thursday evening. By 10 o'clock at night, we will have those clouds lingering, but again, the majority of the rain will be done for. Friday, we'll taper off. We'll clean out the air, clean out the skies. A cold front finally crosses through central Florida, bringing us temperatures back into the 70s Saturday and Sunday. So the weather's looking fantastic for Saturday and Sunday. So we just have to get through kind of 2 days of not so great weather, the worst of it Thursday morning, and then we can kind of sit back and enjoy our Veterans Day weekend. St. John's River flood stage. As of now, we are good to go in Cocoa, but we're still in that moderate flood stage from Lake Harney northward. Still rising a little bit in Astor because you guys are the farthest north. So we're still seeing a lot of that, the river flowing into Astor. So this is also could be a problemsome area, certainly in the upcoming days. That is the breakdown as of the 1 o'clock advisory. We're going to have another advisory come down. The complete advisory will be at 4 o'clock. It all shifts a little bit due to the time change. But 4 o'clock will be the next complete advisory. We are going to be coming live once again on clickorlando.com. YouTube, if you're watching us on YouTube, don't forget to like and subscribe to get all those updates. News 6 Plus on your smart TV, our Pinpoint Weather app, our Hurricane app, and of course, the good old-fashioned television. Will be breaking down everything you need to know on Tropical Storm Nicole, which again could be Hurricane Nicole by tomorrow as it approaches parts of Central Florida. So stay tuned, and of course the whole weather team will be here updating you every step of the way.